Hi, Mohammed. Let's take a look at this new set of essays. Okay, this is the one about government spending money on arts, but maybe they should spend money on other things. Here's what you said. Okay. A number of governments around the world have major budgets allocation for art, which promotes the quality of life for the general public in their opinion. Okay. Conversely, governments should be spending major portion of their finance on other value addition products rather than art. I agree totally that government must clearly be doing more for the uplift of poverty-stricken communities and health sector improvements in contrast to spending on art. This essay will discuss how things other than art are more important for people's welfare. Okay, so what's happened here is you've written quite a bit, actually, for your introduction. In fact, if you look, the paragraph that you have here for your introduction is the same size as your first body paragraph. Now, I'm not sure if we have mentioned it before. I know that I've said it in a lot of other corrections that I've done, but I really would prefer that you didn't do that. Essentially, what you need to focus on is more on your body paragraphs and less on your introduction. Your introduction has a very specific role to play, but you really want to spend the majority of your effort in analyzing and developing your body paragraphs rather than your introduction. So I would first of all recommend that you reduce the size of this introduction a little bit. All right, that's the first thing. The second thing is that some of the grammar is wrong. And I felt like in general, this just felt rather choppy. In other words, it didn't really flow very well together. It needed a little work. So let's see if we can fix the flow a little bit, partially by fixing the grammar and also any other changes that need to be made. So let's take a look at that again. A number of governments around the world have major, you see this is awkward here, budgets allocation. It sounds very strange. So why don't we change this and make it something more like numerous governments around the world have large budgets allocated for art, which promotes the quality of life for the general public in their opinion. However, there are those who believe governments should be spending a major portion of their, or not even, it's not even on the other hand or conversely, or, I mean, these are two separate things. So on the one hand, they have a major budget, but people think that this is not good spending. So let's change this around. However, there are those who believe this money should be spent on other valuable projects rather than art. I agree with this opinion in that government should be doing more to improve poverty-stricken, and this is the wrong spelling here, communities and the health sector in contrast to spending on art. And then the rest of it's fine. Okay, so you could see that I had to change around a number of things here, but I think after those changes, the paragraph flows better. Okay, so let's move on. People, no, I don't know why you have apostrophe S here. Let's get rid of that apostrophe S immediately. So, people are forced to spend cold nights in temporary shelter, not shelter homes, just get rid of the homes. So in temporary shelters, as if they, no. People are forced to spend cold nights in temporary shelters as they cannot afford to have their own homes. This phenomenon is not only a hot topic in third world countries, careful spelling, but also in developed countries. Government should introduce schemes by focusing on housing sector, get rid of that S here because this is an adjective, housing sector reforms to alleviate the suffering of such people. Get rid of that S. Art budgets can only be considered beneficial for a certain segment, careful with your spelling, of people who have their own homes, but having a permanent place to sleep and calling, ing, it home, no S, is a more satisfying feeling than the Admiration. No, fix your spelling of an art piece. All right, so I understand what you're trying to say here. It does feel like you're kind of flip-flopping. So you start off talking to us about homes, talking about homes and about third world countries and all of this stuff. And then all of a sudden, you're saying that this is beneficial only for people who have homes. And so I'm not really satisfied with the fact that you introduced this idea of art and not being a valuable thing to spend on until that last sentence or so. So I would really like to change this around a little bit, okay? So maybe it would make a lot more sense if you had said that the money spent on art could be put to better use by providing permanent homes for people, all right? And then you can say all of this, all right? And so then you could have like maybe a last sentence here saying that art budgets are justified only if people's basic needs for housing and health are satisfied. And so then that would go back to that first sentence. Okay, so this way you're kind of using the template the way you've learned it again. You would say that initial sentence that I talked about, and then you would wrap it up with, again, that, spending money on art makes sense only if a community's basic needs are cared for. Okay, so like I said, this needed some changes. All right, next paragraph. Every hour, people are dying due to the non-availability of pure drinking water. Water reserves have been polluted mainly by the uncontrolled contamination of hazardous materials of various industrial units. Okay, where are you going with this? A recent research by World Health Organization reveals contaminated water usage is one of the major factors of epidemics. Therefore, governments should be spending more to designate the waste disposal places in remote areas, and proper mechanisms must be in place for the transit and ultimate decomposition. Governments must be clearly advertising their stance of no compromise, careful with your spelling, on the public health, and municipalities should be given more resources. Okay, where are you going to talk about art? And to the factories, to monitor the factories to avoid decontamination. No, you don't want decontamination. You want to avoid contamination. All right, so and now that we've read your two body paragraphs, let's just look really quickly at your conclusion, and then we'll talk about these a little more in detail. So to conclude, in any country, people's well-being and health is of you can't do this, is of profound than art. You have to have a comparative here, but you can't say is of more profound importance. You can't say that, so it just doesn't apply as an expression. So in any country, careful with your N here, people's well-being and health is of more important than artworks. Therefore, governments must cater basic necessities. You don't say cater like this. Cater to basic necessities, primarily to the people, rather than improving the art. Okay, so that's what I wanted to do. Let's look at the topic again. There's this opinion here that art gives us improves our quality of life, and then other people say that no, you should spend money on other things. You didn't talk about at all why maybe art could improve quality of life. You didn't touch upon that at all. You could have actually spent a paragraph talking about that. You chose not to. You chose to argue just the other position 100%, and that's okay. But like I said here, you did not mention art at all. So instead, all you did was spend your entire body talking about what things people should spend money on rather than art. Now, here it was okay, you mentioned art, but here you made absolutely no mention of it. So it was just this focus on the other things we should spend money on. There were a lot of mistakes with your spelling. The whole thing was full of spelling mistakes, and so that's going to hurt you for your lexical resource. You really have to be careful with that. Because you had some nice vocabulary, but a lot of it was just misspelled. So you need to be careful. And like I said, I wasn't really happy with some of the development or some of the progression of your ideas. I found myself getting lost. I was like, okay, what's your point? Where are you going with this? You could see that art is really focused on here. Money on art, things other than art. So you just talked about those other things and you didn't really tie it back into art. So that for me is the big problem with this essay. And then, of course, the grammar that I mentioned and the spelling, that was a problem, okay? So it needs a little work. Let's go into your task 1. All right, so let's take a look now at your task 1. This is the one about the new computer. Here's what you said. Dear Sir, Madam, I'm writing this letter to file a complaint against my recent purchase from your shop. No, against your shop. Let's try it again. I'm writing this letter to file a complaint against your shop regarding my recent purchase. For your information, my newly bought laptop is not working properly and there are some built-in hardware issues resulting in poor performance. From the day of purchase, the laptop keeps on hanging. I don't know what that means. It keeps on hanging and restarting after quick sessions. I'm not sure what that means. The last time the laptop shut itself down automatically after displaying a blue screen for some seconds, and I was able to capture the screen through my mobile as a proof of faulty performance. I have tried to speak to your customer service team, but they did not even bother themselves to collect the laptop for technical evaluation and identification of the root cause of such poor performance of a new. All right, this is really heavy. I mean, there's all this of. It's just, it becomes cumbersome, which means that it's just awkward and kind of difficult to read. And I'm never a huge fan of paragraphs that consist of just one sentence. So my advice would be to either rephrase this somehow, break it down into multiple sentences, or, just attach it to one of your other paragraphs, okay? You never said that you phoned the shop. Okay, that's what they asked for here when you phoned the shop. So you should have said, you said all that you've tried to speak to customer service. Well, you should have said, I phoned your shop on November 16, 2019, on November 22nd, 2019. However, and then go on into it, okay? But again, I don't like this. It's just one sentence. So let's look at it. I have tried to speak to your customer service team, but they did not even bother themselves to collect the laptop for technical evaluation or identification of the root cause. Full stop. Okay? Again, it needed a little more development here. I need your immediate attention to fix this problem by either changing the faulty parts and confirmation by your technical team that it is working fine now, or replacement of the laptop to end my suffering in this regard. All right. I am not really a huge fan of I need. Remember, this is a formal letter. You're trying to be firm, but you're always also trying to maintain a certain a tone here, okay? So I need is not a good idea. Let's say something instead. Please give this issue your immediate attention. And either change the faulty parts and confirm that the model is working appropriately, or provide me with a new computer, something like that. I don't really care for this end my suffering. It's a little melodramatic, so you don't want to over dramatize the situation. But you could just say that you're very frustrated. That would probably be more appropriate. I am looking forward to prompt response. Yours faithfully. All right, and then it's fine. So there's some awkwardness here. There's some lack of development in certain places. I think you also could have been a little more specific here, but it says, what would you like the manager to do? Yeah, you said two things. You could say also, please contact me at the number below during business hours. Something. Be a little more specific. Give them some way to contact you. Okay, so yeah, some awkwardness in the language. That's what I want you to work on primarily, but keep working at it. Okay, I know you're working hard, so keep on working. You're getting there. Let's see another set of essays from you. Good luck.